Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that is silently, slowly, and systematically killing your dreams, stealing your opportunities, and destroying your future. That thing is excuses. We all make excuses. I'm too tired. I'm not ready. I don't have the right connections. I'll start tomorrow. But let me ask you something. How many tomorrows have passed while you waited for the perfect moment? How many times have you blamed your lack of progress on something outside your control? Every time you make an excuse, you're handing over your power. You're saying, I'm not in charge of my life. My circumstances are. But here's the truth. Your future isn't destroyed by failure. It's destroyed by excuses. Excuses sound like protection, but they're actually poison. They keep you from trying. They keep you from growing. They keep you from becoming the person you were meant to be. When you look at the most successful people in the world, you'll notice something. They all had reasons to give up. They had struggles, rejections, poverty, self-doubt, and pain. But they chose action over excuse, discipline over delay. Excuses are easy. Action is hard. But only action changes lives. If you want to succeed, stop giving yourself an escape route. Burn the bridges of laziness. Silence the voice that says, I can't, and replace it with, I will. Because every time you push through the pain, every time you get up and try again, every time you say no to the excuse and yes to the dream, you're building your future. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more blaming. Start now, move forward, own your future. Excuses are not just small delays or simple justifications. They are dangerous mindsets that creep into your thinking and sabotage your entire future. At first, they seem harmless. I'm too tired today, I'll do it tomorrow. Or this isn't the right time, maybe later. But the danger lies in repetition. One excuse leads to another, and soon you've built a wall between yourself and your potential. Every time you give in to an excuse, you give up a piece of your dream. You start trading possibility for procrastination, action for avoidance. You begin to live a life of limitation, not because of what you lack, but because of what you refuse to confront. Excuses mask themselves as logical reasoning, but they're often rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. Instead of facing the challenge, we hide behind an excuse. And the worst part, excuses feel comfortable. They let you off the hook. They let you stay in your comfort zone where growth is impossible. Look around at people who never reached their goals. Most didn't fail because they weren't talented or capable. They failed because they gave themselves too many exits, too many justifications, too many ways to back out. Excuses are thieves. They steal time, momentum, confidence, and ultimately, your destiny. While you're telling yourself why something can't be done, someone else is out there doing it. Without permission, without perfect conditions, and without excuses. The more you listen to your excuses, the louder they get. They become habits, they become beliefs, and eventually, they become the bars of a prison that you built with your own thoughts. You weren't born to live behind the bars of maybe someday, or if only. You were born to break those chains, to rise up, and to do the hard things anyway. Because every excuse you eliminate brings you one step closer to who you're meant to become. Every time you make an excuse, you're doing more than just delaying an action. You're surrendering control over your life. You're telling the world, and yourself, that your life is being dictated by outside forces instead of your own will, discipline, and decisions. Think about it. When you say, I can't do this because I don't have enough time, or I would succeed if only I had more support, you're placing your future in the hands of something you claim you can't control. You're basically saying, I'm powerless. And once you believe that, your motivation dies, your progress stops, and you settle for far less than you deserve. True power comes from ownership, from taking full responsibility for your actions, your outcomes, and your growth. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who had perfect circumstances. They're the ones who owned their situations, good or bad, and made something out of them. When you make an excuse, you delay learning, you avoid accountability, and you give your energy to a story that reinforces limitation instead of possibility. Imagine trying to build a strong life, a successful future, on a foundation made of blame and denial. It crumbles every single time. But when you accept full responsibility, you build a mindset that is resilient, adaptable, and powerful. You begin to say things like, "It's my job to figure this out," or "I might not have the best tools, but I will make the best use of what I have." Taking back your power doesn't mean everything will be easy. It means you stop waiting for permission. You stop outsourcing your potential to things you can't change, and you start focusing on what you can do, what you will do. Because the moment you stop making excuses is the moment you start making progress. One of the most common and seductive excuses we make is, "I'll start when the time is right." We tell ourselves we need to wait until we have more money, more energy, more knowledge, or more support. But here's the truth that most people never want to accept. There is no such thing as a perfect time. Waiting for the ideal moment is just another way of procrastinating. It's a mental trick, a way to avoid the discomfort of starting. You convince yourself that delay is strategic, when in reality, it's just fear in disguise. Successful people don't wait for things to be perfect. They take imperfect action. They start messy. They begin scared. They move forward with what they have, knowing they'll figure the rest out on the way. Why? Because they understand that momentum creates clarity, not the other way around. Life is always going to be busy. There will always be obstacles, distractions, or reasons to put things off. If you're waiting for a smooth road with no bumps, no interruptions, and no doubts, you'll be waiting forever. And while you're waiting, time keeps passing. Opportunities vanish, confidence fades, dreams die. What matters most is not when you start, but that you start. The act of beginning, no matter how small, sends a signal to your brain, "I'm serious about this." That one decision, that one step, can be the catalyst for incredible change. Think about people who never reached their potential. So often, they were simply waiting for approval, for conditions to improve, for a miracle to happen. But time doesn't wait. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to begin. Don't let the perfect time become the reason you never take action. Start now, start scared, start unprepared, but start, because the real power lies not in planning forever. It lies in doing, learning, adapting, and growing. When you look at the people who have achieved greatness, whether they're world-class athletes, visionary entrepreneurs, influential leaders, or creative geniuses, you'll notice a common theme. None of them had a perfect path. What they all had, however, was perseverance. They failed, they stumbled, they got rejected, they were laughed at. They lost money, time, and even hope at times. But through all that pain, they kept going. Because real success doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being relentlessly persistent. The people who reach the top of their fields are not those who never make mistakes, but those who refuse to quit when they do. They don't wait for the stars to align or conditions to be flawless. They move forward anyway. They get knocked down and they rise, again and again, because they know every setback is part of the story. On the other hand, people who wait to be perfect before they begin often never begin at all. The pursuit of perfection becomes a trap. It paralyzes you. It makes you overthink, doubt, and delay until the opportunity has passed. And worse, it trains your mind to believe that failure is the enemy, when in truth, failure is your greatest teacher. Think about Thomas Edison, who tried over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Or J.K. Rowling, rejected by multiple publishers before creating Harry Potter. Or Oprah Winfrey, who was told she was unfit for television. These people weren't perfect, but they were relentless. Every successful person you admire had days when quitting seemed easier. Every legend you look up to once felt like an underdog. What separates them from the rest is that they didn't let imperfection stop them. They let it shape them. Your journey will be messy. You will fall short. But if you keep showing up, learning, adjusting, improving, your perseverance will write a success story far more powerful than perfection ever could. Excuses are like a warm blanket on a cold morning. They give you a temporary feeling of comfort, but they keep you stuck exactly where you are. They shield you from discomfort, from risk, from failure. But they also block the path to growth, success, and transformation. Why do we make excuses? Because deep down we fear change. Change means effort. It means challenge. It means facing things that are unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or even painful. And the human brain is wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. So it creates excuses to justify staying where it's safe. But here's the hard truth. Comfort zones are growth graveyards. Nothing extraordinary happens there. No breakthroughs, no bold achievements, no personal evolution ever come from choosing comfort over challenge. Every time you say, "I don't feel ready," or "I'm not good enough yet," or "I might fail," you're really saying, "I'd rather be comfortable than grow." You're choosing a known struggle over an unknown possibility. But growth lives on the other side of discomfort. It comes when you push yourself beyond what's easy, when you say yes to the hard things, when you stretch your limits instead of shrinking them. Excuses make you feel good for a moment, but they rob you of the satisfaction that only progress can bring. They trade short-term ease for long-term regret, and regret weighs far more than the temporary pain of hard work. Think about a time you pushed yourself through something difficult, maybe a workout, a job interview, a public speech, or a tough conversation. How did you feel afterward? Empowered, proud, stronger? That's growth. And it only comes when you silence the voice of excuses and lean into challenge. So ask yourself, are you living in a loop of comfort that's keeping you small? Are you choosing easy moments today that will cost you a meaningful life tomorrow? If the answer is yes, it's time to break free from the trap of excuses, because comfort may feel safe, but growth feels fulfilling. You can plan all you want. You can dream, prepare, analyze, and even pray for the perfect opportunity. But in the end, the only thing that truly moves your life forward is action. Not thoughts, not intentions, not conversations. Action. Excuses are passive. They keep you in your head. Action is aggressive. It moves you into the real world. And here's the thing. You will never think your way into success. You must act your way into it. Too many people spend their lives waiting to feel ready before taking that leap. But readiness doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. Confidence doesn't arrive before the action. It's built during the process. Let's be honest, excuses feel safe because they cost nothing upfront. But what they really cost is momentum, and momentum is everything. One small step taken today can create a ripple effect of motivation, clarity, and growth. That's the power of action. Once you move, everything changes. You get feedback. You learn something new. You gain strength. And most importantly, you build trust in yourself. Meanwhile, excuses do the opposite. They train your brain to doubt. They reinforce hesitation. they create habits of avoidance. You start convincing yourself that you're not capable, and slowly, your dreams begin to feel out of reach, not because they are, but because you haven't taken the actions to get closer to them. Even if your first steps are imperfect, even if you fail at first, action will still bring you more progress than a lifetime of excuses ever will. Why? Because every action, no matter how small, is a vote for your future. It says, I believe in the possibility of change, and that belief is what builds momentum. You can either feed your excuses or fuel your growth, but you can't do both. So stop waiting, start doing, because in the battle between excuses and action, action wins every single time. Words are powerful, but they mean nothing without action behind them. You can talk all day about your dreams, your goals, your intentions, your plans, but none of that will shape your future unless you actually do something. Too many people live in the illusion that talking about success is the same as building success. They say, one day I'll start my business, someday I'll get in shape, or soon I'll chase my dream. But someday is not a strategy. And talking isn't transformation. You don't get rewarded for what you say you'll do. You get rewarded for what you actually do. The gap between who you are now and who you want to become is not filled with wishes or promises. It's filled with consistent action, hard work, and sacrifice. It's built day by day, decision by decision. It's not about being perfect, it's about being committed. Think of your words like seeds. Saying something plants the idea, but unless you water that seed with action, it dies. It never grows roots. It never becomes anything more than potential. This is where most people get stuck. They confuse talking about success with building it. They post about motivation. They plan endlessly. They dream big, but they do nothing. And here's the truth. Your future doesn't care about your words. The universe doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. The results in your life are a reflection of what you've done consistently, not what you've said occasionally. Look at your daily habits, your choices, your behaviors. These are the bricks that build your future, not your opinions, not your promises, not your excuses. If you want to become someone greater, start showing it with your actions. Because in the end, it's not what you say. It's what you prove through what you do, day in and day out.